My name is Lyriel Solen. I am 35 years old. That morning was the day my family broke apart, and I knew it from the first moment. It started when my phone buzzed on my nightstand at 5:30 in the morning. I didn't even open my eyes at first. I thought it was spam or one of those endless group messages my cousin refuses to mute. I slapped the screen with my hand and mumbled, "Hello. Lyriel," a man said carefully on the other end of the line. It was Thorin, my neighbor. "I think your grandma is sitting outside your gate," he said. At first, I didn't understand. His words slid past me like they didn't stick. "What?" I said, blinking into the darkness of my room. "Outside," Thorin said. "She's been there for about 20 minutes. 2 bags with her. She's just sitting on the ground." Cold rushed through my body like someone had opened a door in my chest and let winter inside. "Are you sure it's my grandma?" I asked, already sitting up in bed. "I've seen her before," Thorin said. "It's her. She hasn't moved." I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. I was out of bed and halfway into a hoodie when my boyfriend Caius stirred. "Tam," he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. "What's wrong?" "My grandma's outside," I said, pulling on my shoes. "She's sitting by the gate." That woke him up immediately. He was behind me in seconds. No questions. No hesitation. He trusted me and I trusted him. When we opened the front door, the cold hit us like a slap to the face. And there she was. Grandma Isolde, 75 years old, sitting on the freezing concrete like she was waiting for a bus that wasn't coming. 2 old suitcases were beside her, one with a folded piece of paper tucked into the handle. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? She wasn't crying. She wasn't yelling. She was just sitting there, staring at the ground. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking so much it made me want to cry. "Grandma," I said, rushing to her. "What are you doing out here?" She didn't answer. I crouched down and touched her arm. It was ice cold. "Oh my God," I whispered. Caius had already gone back inside to crank up the heat and grab blankets. Together, we helped Grandma up and guided her into the house. She moved very slowly, like every joint and muscle was protesting. I carried her suitcases inside and noticed the folded piece of paper in her hand. It felt heavier than it should have. We wrapped Grandma in blankets on the couch. Caius sat beside her, rubbing her back gently. She still hadn't said a word. I unfolded the paper carefully. It had 4 lines written on it. No names. No explanation. "Please understand." My stomach dropped. That was it. My parents had done this. I went to the security monitor by the door, my hands shaking, and scrubbed back to 5 a.m. The video loaded. My dad's SUV pulled up quietly. He got out first. My mom followed. They opened the back seat and helped Grandma out. They set her bags beside her. No hug. No knock on my door. No explanation. They got back in the car and drove away. Just drove away. Something settled in my chest then. Not loud anger, but the kind that sinks in and refuses to leave. I called my dad. No answer. I called again. Nothing. I called my mom straight to voicemail. I paced the living room, my phone buzzing uselessly in my hand while Grandma finally spoke. "I'm sorry for showing up like this, Tammy," she said softly. "I didn't mean to bother you." My throat tightened. "No, you're not bothering anyone." Caius nodded beside me. "You're always welcome here." I sat across from her. "Why didn't you knock or call?" She looked down at her hands. "I didn't want to wake anyone. I figured someone would come out eventually." "Eventually?" I swallowed. "Did they say why they dropped you off?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Last night your father packed my things. He said, 'Your brother and his wife are moving in. The baby needs space.'" "That's it?" I asked. "No warning." She shook her head. "They left you outside?" I said quietly. "In the cold?" She didn't answer. She just looked away. After a while, she whispered, "I didn't want to be a burden." "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't ever say that." The house felt wrong after that. Too quiet. Too warm compared to the cold she had been sitting outside. When the sun finally came up, it didn't feel like a new day. Caius looked at me. "What do you want to do?" "We're going over there," I said. "Today. I want answers." Grandma looked nervous. "I don't want to fight," she said. "I know," I said gently. "But you didn't start this." We helped her into the car and drove toward my parents' house. As we turned into their street, I saw it. A white moving truck parked out front. My younger brother stood next to it, laughing with his wife like it was some kind of party. The anger I had been feeling all morning started to boil. I parked up the street, not because I had to, but because I didn't trust myself not to do something reckless. We walked toward the house slowly, Grandma between us. My brother noticed us first. His smirk disappeared when he saw her. His wife's face dropped. Neither said a word. Inside, through the window, my parents sat like nothing was happening. Like my grandmother hadn't been left on concrete before sunrise. I kept walking. Whatever was waiting inside that house, it wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. The front door was unlocked. That hit me harder than it should have. They hadn't even bothered to lock the door after dumping Grandma. Like she was just luggage. I didn't knock. I opened the door and walked in with Grandma between Caius and me. Her steps were small and careful, like she didn't want to scuff the floor of a house she had lived in for years. My parents were in the living room. My dad sat in his recliner with a mug of coffee. The TV murmured some morning news. My mom was at the dining table scrolling on her phone like it was any other morning. No panic. No shame. I didn't say hello. You dumped her at my gate, I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. Like she was garbage. My dad looked up slowly. No shock. No guilt. Just that flat, assessing stare he used when I was a kid and hadn't done something the way he liked. Right, he said. She's staying with you now, isn't she? What's the problem? Something cracked in my jaw. I clenched it so hard it hurt. The problem, I said, each word sharp, is that you left her outside in the freezing cold at 5:30 in the morning. My mom set her coffee down with a sigh, dramatic, like she was the one being inconvenienced. Lyriel, we're not doing this. Doing what? I shot back, calling them out. We had no choice, she said quickly. The house is too crowded. You couldn't stay in a hotel, an Airbnb, or rent a room for a few weeks? He shrugged. We're not blowing money on rent when we can stay here for free. It's family. Family, I repeated, letting the words sit there like a bad smell. My mom leaned forward. Her voice took on that tone she used when she thought she was being reasonable. They just had a baby. Tomorrow. You know how stressful that is. They needed stability. And Grandma didn't. I stared at her, stunned. So, you abandoned her in the cold? We were doing her a favor, my mom said briskly. You have more space anyway. I couldn't find words. You think leaving your own mother-in-law on concrete before sunrise is a favor? My dad finally spoke again, his voice hardening. We're not going to be judged for making a hard decision. It's not like we threw her on the street. She's with you. You didn't even knock, Caius said quietly. That's when my brother's wife spoke up for the first time, soft and careful. I wanted to call, she said. I told them we should call, but they said you'd understand. I turned on my brother. You just stood by and let this happen? He rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. Dramatic, I said. She wasn't happy here anyway. She complains all the time. She's stuck in the past. Everything is about when your grandfather was alive. It gets old. I looked at him like I didn't recognize him. She gave up her retirement to help raise us, I said. She even paid your college deposit when Dad said he couldn't afford it. Grandma held her purse tightly in her hands. Her knuckles were white, and her fingers felt stiff from holding on so hard. She didn't say a word. She didn't try to defend herself. She just stood there, looking small, like a tiny bird trying to hide from a storm. My brother laughed, someone said. That doesn't mean she gets to control the house. She was making my wife uncomfortable, he added. His wife didn't argue, but she didn't say no either. She just stayed quiet, looking at the floor. That's enough, I shouted, my voice shaking. You all make me sick. My dad slowly stood up, his face red. Watch your mouth, he said. No, Caius said, stepping in front of Grandma to protect her. You watch yours. You threw your own mother out because your favorite child needed space for a crib. That's not okay. My mom crossed her arms, looking serious. We did what was best for everyone, she said. No, I said, my voice cold now like ice. You did what was easiest for you. You didn't think about what was right. You just thought about what was easiest for you. The room got very quiet. You could hear the clock ticking, and even the wind outside seemed to stop. My brother checked his watch. Done. We've got stuff to unpack, he said, sounding bored, like none of this mattered to him. I stepped toward him without thinking. You don't get to act like this is normal, I shouted. He just shrugged. It worked out. You're already taking care of her. I don't see the big deal, he said, as if it was nothing. Grandma's voice was soft, and it was shaking just a little. I didn't want to be a burden, she whispered. I turned toward her quickly. You're not a burden, I said, my voice gentle now, trying to let her know it was true. My mom sighed, like she was tired of all of us. Sometimes she would say, "You outgrow things, people." That was her line for moving on from things, like leaving them behind. That sentence made something inside me break. I felt my chest get heavy, and my eyes sting. Caius stared at her. "You outgrew your mother-in-law?" he asked, his voice quiet but full of shock. My dad pointed toward the door. "Get out of my house right now, or I'm calling the police," he barked, his face red with anger. I laughed. Actually, I laughed, even though my heart was beating fast. "Are you going to tell them you kicked your elderly mother out in the freezing cold?" I said, my voice loud and shaking. "Out!" my dad shouted again. Caius gently held Grandma's arm. "Let's go. We don't belong here," he said softly but firmly. We walked toward the door. Not one of them tried to stop us. Not one of them said sorry. Not one looked sad. When I opened the door, my mom called after us. "Don't turn this into a big moral crusade tomorrow. She's your responsibility now," she said. "I won't," I said, feeling a little lighter. I was glad to leave. Outside, the moving truck beeped as it backed up the driveway like nothing had happened. Its lights flashed on the cold pavement, and I could see the frost on the grass glittering in the early morning sun. I helped Grandma into the car. She moved slowly, and I could feel her trembling. I looked at the house I had grown up in. It didn't feel like home anymore. Just walls holding people who chose what was easiest for them, not what was right. I closed the car door gently and took a deep breath. "I'm filing a report," I said. Grandma blinked at me, looking surprised. "You're what?" she whispered. "I'm not letting this go," I said, my voice steady. She shook her head slowly. "That will make things worse," she said softly. I met her eyes. "They already made it worse," I said. Caius nodded. "We'll go today," he said. Grandma looked away, unsure. "They'll say I'm tearing the family apart," she said, her voice small. I started the car. "If they cared about family, they wouldn't have left you outside before sunrise," I said. "No one ran after us. No one tried to stop us. They just let us go." And in that quiet, I knew this wasn't over. It was only the beginning. The police station smelled like old coffee and cleaning supplies. It was one of those places where the walls feel tired of listening to people explain how everything went wrong. I didn't sit down. "I need to file an elder abandonment report," I said. That got attention. The officer behind the desk straightened up. His eyes flicked from me to Caius, then to Grandma, who stood quietly at my side, hands folded like she was trying to take up less space. He grabbed a clipboard and motioned us toward a small office. 10 minutes later, a detective walked in. He looked to be in his mid-50s, with gray hair at the temples. His eyes were sharp, like he could see if someone was lying. "I'm Detective Dorian," he said, sitting down across from us. "Tell me exactly what happened." So I did. I told him everything. I didn't make it sound worse than it was, and I didn't leave anything out. I told him about the 5:30 a.m. phone call, the security video, the note shoved into Grandma's suitcase handle, and her age and medical problems. I told him about the unanswered calls and the confrontation at my parents' house. Caius helped fill in details I forgot, like the exact times, the exact words, and my brother's smug, "it worked out" comment. When I finished, Detective Dorian leaned back in his chair. "You said you have video footage?" he asked. I slid the USB across the desk. He nodded once. "Good. This doesn't look like just abandonment," he said. "It looks like possible financial exploitation." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" I asked. "If she's been helping them financially, and they removed her without a care plan, without notice, or a medical check, that's very serious," he said. He picked up the phone and made a call. About 20 minutes later, a woman walked in. She looked to be in her late 30s, sharp eyes, and very serious. "I'm Celine from Adult Protective Services," she said. When she heard how Grandma had been left outside, her face hardened. "That could have killed her," she said flatly. "You're telling me they made no arrangements, no calls?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. She nodded once. "We're escalating this," she said. Grandma looked nervous. "I don't want trouble," she whispered. Celine turned to her gently. "You didn't cause trouble. You survived it," she said. By the time we left, a wellness check was scheduled for our home, and a preliminary hearing date was already being discussed. Outside, Caius let out a slow breath. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. "I'm clear," I said. That night, I blocked my parents' numbers. Not out of fear, but out of control. I wanted to protect Grandma and myself. The next morning, messages started coming from new numbers. "You're destroying this family. You'll regret this," one of them said. I took screenshots and added them to a growing file. One message finally got a reply from me. "You'll regret underestimating me," I typed. Then I blocked that number too. The week passed quickly. Grandma settled into our home like she had always lived there. She laughed with Caius while watching bad daytime TV shows. She taught me how she used to stretch soup to last 3 days. One evening, while Caius washed dishes, Grandma said quietly, "They said I was forgetful." I looked at her, surprised. "I never left the stove on," she said softly. "Not once. I let them think I was slipping. It made things quieter. They stopped asking me for more." I didn't know whether to admire her or cry. Tuesday came. The courthouse was cold. Hard benches, hard floors, hard faces everywhere. My parents sat together, stiff and pale. My brother slouched beside them, arms crossed, looking bored. The judge entered. He was older, with sharp eyes, and he didn't have patience for nonsense. I stood when asked. "They dropped my grandmother off outside my home before sunrise," I said. "No call, no knock. She sat there for 45 minutes in freezing temperatures." I handed over the note, the USB, and the call logs. The judge nodded slowly, reading everything carefully. My mom cried in line. She said, "We just wanted what was best." She was getting difficult and upset. The judge stopped her and said, "Wait. Stop. Did you give legal notice?" The judge asked my dad. "No," he said. "Did you get a doctor's note about her health?" "No." "Do you have another place ready for her to live?" "No." My dad stood up. He was serious. "We are moving her to a better home," he said. The judge looked at him with a sharp face. "You abandoned her," he said. There was silence in the room. Everyone stopped talking. Then the judge looked at our money. We had been giving my grandma money every month for 3 years, but we never kept receipts to show it. The judge's face got darker. "You spent all her fixed income," he said. Then he made a fast decision. The ruling was very fast. We were guilty. We got fines, probation, and restrictions. "Grandma can live with me forever," my dad said angrily. "You raised a snake," he shouted at Grandma. She stood slowly. She didn't look scared or angry. "I raised a woman standing next to me," she said calmly. "You trapped yourself." Then she said a word I didn't understand. Court adjourned. That night, Grandma asked us to sit down at the table. She handed me an envelope. "I didn't tell anyone about this," she said softly. "I wanted to see who would choose me when I had nothing." I opened the envelope slowly. Inside were papers, deeds, bank accounts, and legal documents. Her money stared back at me. $51 million. Caius, my brother, froze. Grandma smiled faintly. "Now you know," she said. I realized the real test hadn't even started yet. For a long time, none of us said a word. The papers were spread all over the coffee table. They were so neat and clean it almost felt unreal. I kept blinking, hoping the number would change. But it didn't. $51 million. Not shared with anyone. All hers. Grandma Isolde sat back on the couch. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. She watched me like she was reading the weather, calm and steady. "I sold the land my sister left me years ago," she said quietly. "I even owned part of the restaurant I worked at. I never told your father because he would have taken it all. Everything is under my maiden name. Different banks. P.O. Box. No bitterness, just facts." She slid another folder toward me. "I remember you and Caius talking about opening something peaceful by the water someday. You're now the owners of a small coastal resort in Monterey. 50 rooms, a spa. It's yours if you want it." My hands shook. "Is this real?" I asked. "More real than the people who raised your brother," she replied calmly. We didn't celebrate or cry. We just sat quietly, letting the meaning sink in. Not the money, but the choice behind it. She had watched us for a long time, and now she was rewarded by what she saw. "I don't want praise," she added softly. "I just want to rest. I want my money to go to people who wouldn't trade me for a guest bedroom." I reached across the table and held her hand. "You're safe here," I said. That weekend, Caius and I drove to Monterey alone. The resort was quiet and well kept. A retired couple ran it. They cared more about the garden and reading room than money or profits. We didn't talk about quitting our jobs. We talked about patience, running things slowly and carefully, the way Grandma lived. Later, a small mistake happened. Caius posted a photo of the ocean view online. By Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. My mom was standing there holding a pie. Behind her were my dad and brother, dressed like they were going to church. My brother even had nice slacks on. Caius appeared behind me. Grandma stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed. "Can we come in?" my mom asked brightly. "We just want to reconnect." Grandma stepped forward before I could speak. You didn't care when I was freezing on the sidewalk, she said calmly. But now you want to reconnect? There was silence. You can keep the pie, she added, but the door stays closed. I shut the door firm, clean, and finally. That Monday morning, I filed for a household restraining order. No warnings. No texts. Every name that mattered went on it, mine, Caius's. 2 days later, the sheriff delivered it in person. No contact, no loitering, no accidental drop-offs. It wasn't revenge. It was controlled. That same week, someone unexpected came. My brother's wife came alone with her baby. No bags, no acting nice. I'm not here for money, she said quickly. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was scared. I should have spoken up. She looked Grandma in the eye. And if I hadn't, if she'd frozen to death? Grandma asked softly. I don't know if I'd forgive myself, the woman said. Grandma nodded once. That's enough honesty for today. Leave your number. If the baby ever needs something important, just the baby, I'll help. Don't come back again. The door closed gently behind her. That night, Grandma called our attorney. Let's finalize everything, she said. I'm ready. The will was rewritten under supervision. I was named the main beneficiary, Caius included. An education trust was set up for the child. A supervised fund for the baby. The parents were removed entirely. My brother got nothing. And anyone who tried to fight it would lose their share to charity. Clean, sharp, unarguable. 2 weeks later, my brother tried to challenge her. It was dismissed in 5 days. Apologies came later. Letters, voicemails, invitations to heal. I shredded them all. Grandma didn't ask to see them. She didn't want reconciliation. She wanted peace. Now she sits on the porch every evening. Coffee too strong, pancakes too thin, watching the sky darken without checking over her shoulder. Last week, she handed me a sealed envelope. Open it when I'm gone, she said. I nodded. Because we already have everything that matters, stability, safety, and a family built on choice, not obligation. And the ones who couldn't show up? They'll have to live with it,